How do you improve? This is a great interview question for Agile coaches and Scrum Masters. How do you apply Agile practices and principles in your own life? And so I'm going to talk about today how I used a continuous glucose monitor in a recent experiment. So asking this question, it's a great interview question for Scrum Masters and Agile coaches because it helps you to understand and appreciate how deeply the person is living the Agile lifestyle. It's also a great reverse question. So if you're sitting in front of the VP of Agile transformation, you can ask that person how they're applying it in their own life. So what does a good answer look like? Multiple examples. If the person struggles to find an example or two examples, that's not a great answer. Learning from failure, an experiment should fail all of the time. Adaptation inside the OODA loop. OODA stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. Colonel John Boyd invented this concept when he was an Air Force colonel. And the idea is that when you're in a dogfight on planes, you have to be inside of the other planes and the other pilot's OODA loop. Otherwise, you get shot out of the sky. So you want fast adaptation, right? If someone is looking at things that happened 10 years ago or is taking 25 years to adapt to a change, probably not the best practitioner of Agile. Genuine discovery, you want stuff that is outside of the box. If someone says, I did an experiment and did some unit testing with a developer, and I discovered that unit testing is a good idea, not a lot of genuine discovery there. Significant investment in time, money, energy, attention. We're asking companies to invest a lot in increasing their agility. We should be willing to do that ourselves as Agile coaches and Scrum Masters. Authenticity and congruence. Is the person living their principles? And what is it that they're learning about themselves? So here's a recent example where I applied Agile practices and principles. I'm generally interested in improving my health. And so I wore a continuous glucose monitor for 10 days. This is something that typically people who are pre-diabetic or diabetic do. There are about 100 million people in the US who are diabetic or at risk of diabetes. So according to WebMD, having too much sugar, too much blood sugar can cause all sorts of problems, from kidney disease to strokes to heart attack to loss of vision. And so I was interested in understanding this key metric in my body. And so this is something that Tim Ferriss did about 10 years ago in the 4-Hour Body. If you've read that book or you've heard about his experiments, I want you to know that this has become radically easier to do today because the CGM continuous glucose monitor technology has become much, much better. If you read this book, you'll hear about him talking about how difficult it was and how it fell off and how it was painful, blah, blah, blah. It's none of those things today. It's expensive because you're doing this on your own, but that's part of the investment. So this technique I used and the system I used was called Freestyle Libre. And that little white circle that you see here, that's what adheres to your skin, and that's what actually measures the glucose. And then you see the monitor right there. And so here's what installing the glucose monitor looks like. On the left side is this little device that you basically hold against your skin. You press it, and boom, it attaches the little white circle to your body. So that's what it looks like on my left arm. And it's attached by an adhesive, just like the adhesive on the back of the Band-Aid. And then what you do after that, what I did after that, is that I had these special meals where I knew the protein content, the fat content, the carb content. And then I looked at the glucose and how it reacted to it. And I discovered all sorts of things like increased glucose spikes equal fatigue. And then I should stop eating so much sushi because sushi spikes my blood sugar to well over 150, which is considered to be at the peak of what you want to be at on a daily basis. So that's an example of applying Agile practices and principles to my own life.
So here's the actual continuous glucose monitor. It's just this little quarter-sized shape, and it has a little filament that you can actually see there. It's a little black thing that pierces your skin, but just slightly. And then that's what actually measures your glucose. And then here is the device that you can use to actually read it off. You basically hold it up to the monitor and it reads off the glucose from this device. So I wore this for 10 days straight, doing a whole bunch of experiments.